You deserved everything you got. This is a union city.
That is a Philadelphia tradition.
Seize the means of podcasting.
Oh, God, the boss has crushed us.
Let me tell you one thing else.
In oldie-timey times,
The pleasure of the flesh is in solidarity.
we will not raw dog reality for that one.
It's going to be wholly unprofessional.
The Scab Buster.
What have we become?
Keep together strong. Let that be your mantra.
My name is Sam James, and I'm the... And you are?
The coaster host, Gabe Christie.
Oh, God, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Man thinks on his feet. Man thinks on his feet. I like it.
There you go.
And today, we are going to learn about...
The 1944 Philly Transit Company strike and why it was bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're flipping the script.
So we have a topic, and we have an attitude towards the topic.
Yes.
All right. Do you feel that you have the right to be making that judgment?
I do.
Isn't it up to our listeners to figure out if it was good or bad?
I will make the argument to them that it was bad. They can decide on their own.
Okay. I mean, because you have a lot of influence.
I do.
You have millions of followers.
Something like that.
You are something of a god to some people.
And if you don't agree with me that it was bad, you're wrong.
What a biased podcast.
Let's get a little bit of background here.
Oh, God, you with the goddamn background, Gabe. Jesus
It's important.
Christ, bud.
Context.
Context is important. I give you that.
So it's wartime Philly during World War II. Philly was one of the major manufacturing hubs in the U.S., and it made a lot of uniforms, had a large naval yard, and it was a big transit hub or transportation hub. So either goods came through Philly on their way to New York City, or they left Philly directly from our port. So I think us and Los Angeles were actually like two of the most important port cities during World War II.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah,
you
that's
wouldn't think
strange.
it,
Yes,
but
because we're right on the ocean.
yeah. Well, I think if I remember correctly, and I could be very wrong about this, but the fact that we were protected by protected by the sandbar we call New Jersey, Philly was really important for the war effort, and all of that relied on a steady stream of workers who all took the Philly Transit Company, which is the predecessor of SEPTA in the city. So
Okay.
the regional rail side of SEPTA was the Reading Railroad. Mostly, I think there was one other but anyway. So Philly Transit Company was buses, trolleys, trams, and I believe the subway.
Okay. So Precepta.
Yeah. So everybody was taking and I'm going to just call Philly Transit Company the PTC, because I don't feel like saying Philly Transit Company every time.
Pitka.
Pitka.
Nah, that doesn't work. PTC.
So they all thousands and thousands of people took the PTC every day, and it was considered an essential part of war industry, since without it, all of the other war industries would shut down.
Yeah.
Which comes into play later when there's a strike going on, because that breaks a lot of the rules around war industry. Also, at this time, and in the 30s, before the war, during the Great Depression, there was a lot of labor, left-wing agitation in the city, and a lot of racially integrated agitation, especially organized by the Communist Party at the time. So within the Philly Transit Company, there were a little over 1,100 workers. 537 of them were black. All of the rest were white.
Okay. That's half, right? You said
no.
1,100.
11,000.
Oh, 11,000. Oh,
I might have said
ooh.
1,100. I meant 11,000.
I'm gonna have to listen back. All right, okay, 500 out of 11,000. Okay, significantly less than half.
Yes. But the black workers were barred from taking higher paid and more skilled jobs, like conductor and motorman. The black workers at the PTC started to push for promotions into the higher paid, higher skilled jobs. And that was...
And they said, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Take my job.
Yeah. So they organized, they also knew that once the war broke out, PTC was especially vulnerable to any labor action.
Yeah.
Because they were part of the war industry, and basically there was an enforced labor peace. So you had to negotiate with the union in good faith so that war production could continue. So they knew they were vulnerable, and they organized a committee to go and basically start trying to advocate for promoting black workers. Then Raleigh Johnson, who was...
Raleigh Johnson.
Mm-hmm. He was an electric welder for the PTC. He approached the president of the company. Oh, I forgot to mention that he was the kind of elected representative of the council that was set up by all of the black workers at the PTC. So they elected him to go and speak to the president. And so he went to the president, Ralph T. Center, and the chairman of the Industrial Relations Division, Dr. Mittens. The guy's actual name.
Wow.
It was a cat.
Every time the union was like, "Can we do that?" He just knock it off the table. No. What was the other Center? His name was Center.
Senter. So,
but okay,
yeah. But
so you had
Center.
Raleigh, Center, and Mittens.
Yeah.
Sounds like the cast of a kids show.
So he went and basically was like, "Listen, you should promote black people," and they said no. So then they Raleigh Johnson approached the union, which represented represented theoretically all of the workers, but really just the white workers, of the Philadelphia Rapid Transit Employees Union, PRTEU.
PRTEU?
Yeah.
The Pretty U?
Pretty U.
Pretty U.
Yeah. So
Aww, that's a cute one. I like that one.
It was not a cute union. So he went to the Pretty U, and was basically...
The Pretty U's gonna be really racist, aren't they?
Yes. Yep.
I'm just softening the blow.
And so they went to the president and said, "Hey, you should tell the bosses to start promoting black people." And the president of the union said he wasn't authorized to push for that unless the majority of the union voted.
And this being 1944 Philadelphia,
yeah,
the majority of the white workers were like, "Yes."
Yeah. So then finally they reached out to the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP. The organizing committee reached out to them. NAACP then approached Dr. Mittens.
Jesus God. This is going to be a tough one for me.
Gave him some catnip. And then Mittens told them to go and talk to the union. So they went and talked to the union. Yeah.
Didn't they just talk to the union?
So, well, this is the NAACP now.
Oh, okay.
So NAACP is now going on behalf of the black workers at the PTC. So they went to the union, and then the union said no, this time citing the customs clause in their contract.
Do I want to know? I'm about to find out. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I just might as well ask that question.
So the customs clause read, except as herein specifically covenanted,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
all existing rules, regulations, and customs bearing on the employer-employee relationship shall continue in full force and effect until changed by agreement between the parties. So nothing can change unless both the union and the company agree on it.
Racism doesn't sound better just because a lawyer wrote it.
Yeah. And so that clause probably wasn't in there specifically to block any kind of racial progress, but it became a really useful tool to do just that.
Good job, guys.
And so because it wasn't the custom of the PTC to promote black workers, they didn't have to. So this was all in 1941 and 42. We're going to fast forward to 43. The wartime labor shortages were getting really bad, because there'd been a draft, so all of the able-bodied young men were getting called up. And the NAACP ramped up pressure on both the union and the company, trying to get them to budge even a little bit. Finally, the PTC said they were open to the proposal if the union said yes, which is still some movement. But they knew the union was going to say no.
Yeah, that's the thing, though.
So, then it's also important to note at this point, the federal government had declared that any agency taking federal contract or help had to have a non-discrimination clause in their hiring.
Okay.
So PTC wasn't doing that yet. But in January of 43, the PTC requested 100 white workers from the War Manpower Commission, which was set up to provide manpower to vital war services. The federal government knew that they had 537 black workers who were demanding more work. And they're like, you should just go promote them, and we're not going to give you 100 new white workers. Just promote the black ones. And
they did. The end.
So the PTC,
this is a short podcast, man.
Yeah. So then the PTC brought the customs clause up to the federal government and said, no, we can't do that. Then the NAACP went to the Fair Employment Practices Commission, which was a federal commission set up basically to enforce the non-discrimination clauses. But it didn't really have much teeth. It was kind of a slap on the wrist commission.
Hey, guys, don't be racist, please.
Yeah, it would be really cool if you could not.
Hey, guys, it'd be really cool if you just weren't.
So there were congressional hearings on it, starting and on January 11th, 1944. So a year after the initial request to the
they got Congress on it now, so it's
moving real quick.
It's moving really quick. It's gonna get done. Don't worry about it.
That hearing basically didn't continue, or just continued the stalemate.
They're just just throwing more shit, like more people into it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just becoming it's like all confusing and everything's
and
because now Congress is going to talk to the NAACP, and the NAACP is going to talk to the PTC, and the PTC is going to talk to more company, and the company's going to talk to Congress, and the Congress is going to...
Yep.
Oh, God.
And you did get a bunch of federal testimony in front of Congress of a bunch of white PTC workers testifying that they would never work with black workers.
At least they were up for
yeah.
about.
Jesus. And 1,776 of them signed a petition saying that they would refuse to work with black workers.
Wow.
So great guys. Yeah. Then
Tell us how you really feel about it.
seriously, to throw a whole other wrench into all of this,
Oh, God.
because this wasn't complicated
It's
enough.
like he threw a little fucking tool shed at it.
Yeah. The contract for the Philadelphia Rapid Transit Employees Union.
The Pretty You, right?
Yeah, the Pretty
Okay,
You.
Pretty You.
Their contract was up in February of 44.
Okay.
They delayed that until March of that year. So I think on March 14th, an election was called. The new to have either renew their current contract, or there was now the option to bring in a different union.
Okay.
So that's
And maybe a certain 537 black workers?
yeah, hopefully. So two other unions.
You say hopefully, but you know the ending to this story and I don't.
Yeah. We got to keep the listeners in suspense. So two other unions then got involved. In addition to Congress, the NAACP,
Oh my God. I can't keep
and
up.
the Philly
Gabe.
Transit
I
Company.
can't keep up with all.
I told you this got complicated. So you have the Amalgamated Association of Street Railway Employees of America.
Holy shit! You're gonna have to do that one for me.
The ASRIA. That sounds
Actually,
like
no,
a
I'll
disease.
do that one. Never mind.
Yeah, it's the Amalgamated Association of Street Railway Employees of America.
We need more amalgamated unions.
It's true.
We don't have those much anymore, do we? I love
No.
that. You know?
Amalgamated does sound good. And they were an American Federation of Labor affiliate.
Okay.
So they're, as we went into in the last episode a little bit, they were kind of the more conservative of the nationwide labor organizations. Then you also had
And what's the other wrench being thrown into this?
the Transit Workers United, which was a CIO affiliate.
Okay.
So they were, yeah, the two. They were the much more like radical industrial union types.
All right.
And the AFL and the CIO were kind of constantly battling around the country at this point, because this was before they combined in the 50s. So during the election campaign, everybody like laid out their position.
All 37 unions, Congress, the company, and yeah.
So the PRTE, or Pretty You, and the Amalgamated Association of Street Railway Employees, it's a freaking long one, they basically took a three-pronged approach of violence, red baiting, and race hatred to win. And they kind
That's
of...
a nasty combination.
Yeah, they kind of teamed up with each other, but were still running as separate tickets. So it was kind of weird. And the interesting thing is so the red baiting actually didn't work very effectively.
Yeah.
At least from what I was reading, most of the workers, even if they were from or of a more conservative mindset, they didn't really care about the politics involved in the union. They just wanted to join one that was going to give them better wages.
Yeah.
So they saw that,
that's not a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I mean,
and they saw like all of these CIO unions across the city getting really good contracts.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want a good contract.
you can call me a red.
Yeah, I don't care.
If I got 50 cents more, sure.
Yeah.
And dental.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
The Teamsters were also AFL.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they used them the AFL members and the Teamsters started attacking Transit Worker United representatives who were trying to organize at the PTC.
Okay.
So they basically went and started cracking skulls. And one of the Teamsters leaders in the city came out and said, "This is the time for beating the shit out of people, and I'm just going to go start smacking heads."
Who are they smacking the heads of?
This is the Teamsters and the AFL attacking the CIO-affiliated Transit Workers United organizers.
Gabe.
Who were
Jesus Christ.
who were trying to organize at the Philly Transit Corporation. So that didn't work. TWU was still gaining popularity. So then
if you read this script out in binary code, it would have made more sense. Jesus.
This is I think version 3 or 4 of this script. This is the one that made the most sense. So that didn't work. So then they switched to red baiting. And
God.
they were saying that the TWU, the Transit Workers United, was communist dominated and scaring people that way. And that didn't work either.
Hey, the commies were fighting the fascists as well.
Yeah,
so
they were.
What are you, un-American?
Uncle Joe?
You got to use that
or
against
ally.
them. You know that, right?
So then they just went to really blatantly stoking racial fears.
Commie shit's not working. Let's do the racist stuff.
Yeah. So they set up both Pretty You and the AFL started distributing leaflets, and the AFL set up sound trucks.
Oh,
at
God.
all of the PTC car barns.
All right. They were just over the loudspeaker?
Yeah, they set up a truck with a bunch of loudspeakers out front.
Wow.
Every day. And they were saying things like, "A vote for the CIO is a vote for N-words on the job. And protect your loved ones. Get rid of the Negro by joining the White Crusade."
Nice.
Yeah, so...
Very nice.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That was some really bad shit. Also, I should say, throughout all of this, the TWU's campaigning was basically yeah, we're going to let black people get promoted, or we're going to advocate for black people to get promoted, and we're also going to advocate for everyone to just get better fucking pay and contracts.
Yeah.
Didn't actually work, though.
Really? Okay, good.
So, the Transit Workers United won a narrow victory. And
we'll take it.
Unsurprisingly, the greatest opposition to the TWU was
the KKK.
Was in the North Philly neighborhoods that were traditionally Irish and Italian.
Oh, Jesus.
But had black neighbors moving in.
Oh, no.
So that's why, that's where the worst, that are most of the car barns in North Philly, whose neighborhood demographics were changing.
Oh, yeah.
Voted for the AFL, or the Pretty You. So they, Transit Workers United won with 54% of the vote.
Okay.
They got a narrow victory, but they technically won, and they were representing the whole of the PTC employees. And they declared that racial integration would move forward.
The same way a turtle or a snail-like creature would move forward, yeah. I'm sure.
Actually, it actually went kind of quickly.
Wow.
By July... early July is announced that 8 black conductors would get promoted and trained.
Wow. What progress?
Yeah. Then by August, the 46% of Philly or PTC employees who didn't vote for the Transit Workers United were getting all upset that they might be equal to black people.
To 8 black people.
To 8, literally only 8. And at 4 a.m. on August 1st, a strike was called, and 4,500 workers walked off the job. So
Now, I'm sure these 4,500 had something in common, maybe a certain complexion.
yeah, I don't think they spent a lot of time tanning. Then that actually caught the city off guard and the TWU off guard, which, like, in hindsight, they probably should have predicted that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I saw that coming.
Yeah. But the Transit Workers United were especially worried that the federal government would come and basically break them up because the CIO had a no strike pledge during the war.
Oh, okay.
So this was technically an illegal strike, and it was, at least on paper, it was being done by Transit Worker United members because they represented all of them. The federal government actually was sided with the Transit Workers United in this and didn't break them up and recognize, like, oh no, this is a rogue element that that are protesting something that the union did, so the union isn't liable for it.
Okay.
So they didn't break up TWU over it.
Yeah.
And weirdly, because TWU was actively telling the strikers to go back to work, they were actually more in line with federal law than the strikers were.
Which is strange.
Yeah, like, because you're striking against, or the strikers were effectively striking against the union.
Yeah.
Which...
God damn, what an interesting situation this is.
The other important thing to note here is that while all of this, like, inter-union rivalry was going on, the company refused to work with the union to stop the strike, because they recognized that a huge wedge just got driven between all of these workers.
They saw that blood in the water.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So,
damn it.
This is where the real lesson comes from. All of the racist bullshit going on here ends up hurting all of the workers.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Because you're breaking up solidarity. Basically, like, the whole city shut down. Buses, trams, and trolleys were all sitting idle. The Liquor Control Board shut down alcohol sales in the city. They didn't want
I have a problem with this now.
Yeah. The NAACP started distributing leaflets and, like, went really hard into black communities in Philly, basically just trying to prevent a race riot because they recognized, like, this could get out of hand really quickly.
Yeah.
And so they were distributing leaflets basically saying, like, just don't pay any attention to the strikers. Just ignore them. They're not worth your time. Keep doing your job. This will get resolved.
What an interesting situation.
So then people in war industries started to be absent from work because they couldn't get there.
Oh, yeah.
Then the federal government got really interested in what was going on in Philly. On top of all of that, in Nazi Germany, they started using it for propaganda.
Oh, Jesus.
Because we were supposed to be fighting this war for liberty and freedom. And we had a bunch of racists striking.
Oh, no, man. They didn't...
So then the army intervened on August 3rd with 5,000 soldiers marching into the city in full battle order.
Holy God.
And, like, set up machine gun nests in front of car barns. And yeah, like, martial law came into the city real quick. It should also be noted that FDR was very explicit to say that he wasn't doing this to force racial integration.
Yeah.
He was like, this is specifically for war production purposes, because, he still had to appeal to all of the Southern racist Democrats that were part of the party at the time.
Well, racial integration in the Army didn't really go into full force until Truman, right?
Yeah. So, but that had kind of the unintended effect that even though FDR was saying, like, this was only done for war production reasons, the black community in Philly still saw the U.S. Army come in and basically kick out a bunch of racists.
Uh-huh.
So that started to endear the Democratic Party to the black population in Philly even more than the New Deal already had.
Yeah.
So all of the PTC employees were ordered back to work by August 7th after the Army came in and broke the strike. And there was, aside from the Teamsters coming in and beating up all the TWU organizers, there really wasn't a lot of violence or bloodshed during the strike. But you started to see that kind of party switch happening. Because there were also a lot of the white workers who were on strike saying that they'll never vote Democrat again.
Wow.
So you started to see, especially and in Philly, the split or the party split along racial lines.
Yeah.
Was bad. And in parts of Philly still is today. It's a weird little piece of Philly history. One of the weirder things to me is to think about, like, Goebbels and the Nazi propaganda machine mentioning Philadelphia.
Think about that.
Yeah. And, like, for mentioning 4,500 racist assholes in Philly.
There's some guys in, like, South Philly. Like, yo, did you hear what Goebbels said? Yo, did you hear what Joey said over in Berlin?
I probably should have looked up the numbers on membership in the German American Bund in Philly.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was some overlap.
I'm sure there was.
Yeah, that was the Philadelphia Transit Company strike of 44.
If you take one thing from this episode today, it's support the U.S. Army.
Yep. Especially when they're breaking strikes.
You're going to send these black young men to war to fight for your country, and then you come back and you're not even going to house them. GI Bill for everybody except if you have a dark complexion.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I can't believe I fucking forgot this part.
Oh, no.
So during all of this, there was a lot, or NAACP and that committee of 537 workers did a lot of protest demonstrations around the city in 43 and earlier in 44. And they had some of the best fucking signs, which was, "We drive tanks, why not trolleys?"
You mentioned this one before.
Yeah. Or, "We drive tanks, why not buses?"
Okay, yeah, okay.
Then "Race hatred breeds fascism."
Yeah.
Those were two of my favorites. So they were also very aware of, like, the connections between all of this racist agitation and fascism, because they had been.
That's what we're fighting.
So
you were fighting against, pretty much.
So seeing that come home was pretty upsetting.
Yeah.